everybody, it's Angie and welcome to Hot and Flashy. In today's Foundation Friday for over 50s, we're going to be taking a look at No7 Stay Perfect Foundation. Now this retails for $15.99 for 1 fluid ounce of product, and here in the US it comes in 14 shades. It claims to be a 17-hour wear, naturally flawless finish, lightweight and breathable foundation that is for all skin types. It says it won't cake or flake on dry skin, and it also won't slide or shine on oily skin, and that it's weather and transfer proof. So that's a tall order. I'm really hoping it lives up to it. We're going to put it to the Angie test today to see if it can do all that and more for mature skin. So fingers crossed that it could be a good one. This is packaged in a heavyweight frosted glass bottle so you can see the color of the product through it, and it does have a pump dispenser. This one does have an SPF of 15 from octinoxate and titanium dioxide. This is a real basic foundation. It's a water and silicone base with mica, talc, panthenol, vitamin E, and hyaluronic acid. Their recommended application method is that you shake it up well and then apply it with fingers or a sponge. The shade I got this in that I'm wearing it in today is called Cool Vanilla, which is the second to the lightest shade, and in no world am I the second to the lightest. The problem with these is that they tend to oxidize a lot, so you really have to pick down at least, I'd say 2 to 3 shades from where you think you would normally be. So I swatched 6 shades of this. The first shade is the lightest shade that this comes in. That's Calico, then Cool Vanilla, which is what I'm wearing today, and then Cool Ivory. And then in the next set of swatches, it's Warm Ivory, Cool Beige, and Warm Beige. So struggles with the colors aside, let's go into the daily footage and I'll show you how it wore and how it performed on more mature skin. On the first day, I applied it always as baseline. I used my standard sunscreen, which is the Australian Gold Mineral Sunscreen. This one doesn't affect the wear of makeup. It actually acts like a little bit of a primer and smooths my pores and wrinkles a little bit. So I don't use primer or setting powder, and I applied it with my fingers. I used about 2 pumps of the foundation and it gave very sheer coverage with some redness and some spots showing through that would need spot concealer over them. It went on nicely with the fingers without any streaks, but it doesn't really look that even. There was no polka dot pores and it didn't settle into wrinkles. It has a very luminous finish that accentuates pores and texture, but it looks very skin-like, not like makeup at all. It gives a really natural no makeup look. It was actually the perfect day to be wearing this because I was just gardening. It was on the weekend, so it was a very natural no makeup day. So I went to Costco, played around in my garden, came back for the 5-hour check-in, and it looks to be about half worn off, with redness showing through on my nose, my chin, my cheeks, and my forehead. The luminosity looks about the same. It really hadn't gotten any shinier, and it still didn't settle into pores or wrinkles. It wasn't breaking up on the surface or sliding around. So at the 9-hour check-in, it was mainly worn off and not looking great, but I was going out to dinner, and so I decided to just touch it up instead of washing my face and starting over. So I applied some more just over the top of what I had on with a sponge, and then I set it with setting powder so I wouldn't be shiny and super textured looking when I was going out. So with a nice fresh coat applied with the sponge and setting it with a little bit of powder, I really liked the look of it, and I thought it looked really good while I was out. So for day 2, in trying to get the wear time up, I used the same sunscreen, but I added a primer with it. I used the Smashbox Photo Finish Light Primer, and I used the sponge on one side and my Morphe G6 brush on the other side. I definitely prefer the sponge side to the brush side. I feel like the brush side is a little more sheer and a little more luminous. But they both go on really nicely. There's no streaks, there's no settling in wrinkles, there's no polka dot pores. I added another coat with the sponge on both sides just to build up the coverage. It definitely is buildable to medium coverage, but I don't think this would ever be something that would get up to full coverage. I added a little IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores HD powder to the T-zone to mattify and reduce the look of the pores. I feel like it works really well with the setting powder to reduce texture. It doesn't look dry or cakey once you add the setting powder, so that was great. So at the 5-hour check-in, it still looked nice overall. It was still matte and in place where I had powdered, but it was wearing off a little bit where I didn't powder. It was starting to crease slightly on my upper lip between my nose and my lip, and I think that was probably because of the primer, because it didn't do that on any of the other days that I wore it without the primer. So at the 11-hour check-in, it was worn off in some very small patches, so it looked a little bit blotchy again, like on my forehead. But overall, on most of my face, it was still mainly in place and looked pretty good. It wasn't breaking up on the surface, it wasn't accentuating wrinkles, it wasn't sliding around, and it wasn't settling into pores. So for day 3, I thought, well, maybe I should try to mix it with their matte foundation, because No7 also has a matte version, which is called Beautifully Matte. This is for normal to oily skin. It offers medium to full coverage. It's supposed to have an all-day velvet matte perfection, and it's oil-free. So I thought, well, if I mix these two together, they will probably be the perfect foundation, because when I tried this one on its own, oh my God, epic fail. Looks like makeup, dry and cakey, accentuated my wrinkles, just, you know, kind of gross. Everything that I hate in a makeup, this was. So I was like, mixing them together should be perfect. Well, unfortunately, no, it didn't work. It kind of brought together the worst of both. So the luminosity way overtook this one and made it way luminous, but yet it was still turned this one into something that looked like makeup, and it just, you know, it didn't work. All right, so let's go ahead and do the phone test and the flash photography test. Got my nice, shiny, clean phone glass. I see a pretty big face print on there for something that's supposed to be transfer proof. I would say not really. I mean, it's not the worst I've ever seen, but it's not the best either. Now let's do the flash photography. I think it looks good. It doesn't give any flashback. All right, let me go outside and to the kitchen to do the various lighting tests. Who's down there? Hi. I think she wants some treats. Oh, look. Look at the cutie. All right, so, you know, I feel like this is one of the first ones that actually look good out in the bright sunshine. I mean, that test is brutal. And this is one of the few foundations that actually looks nice in the bright sunshine. It looks really nice in the kitchen light. It looks nice, like really, really nice for, you know, 4 to 5 hours. Ugh. If it lasted a little bit longer, it would probably be like a holy grail foundation for me, because I love the natural look with it. Even with powder on it, it didn't look dry and powdery. And so I feel like this makeup kind of has a something something, especially for people who don't like anything that you can see sitting on your skin. So let's do the pros and cons. So on the pros side are the price on this one. It's a really nice price point at $15.99. It doesn't settle in wrinkles at all, ever, and it doesn't settle in pores ever. It's so comfortable and lightweight to wear, and it doesn't look like makeup. You don't feel it on your skin, and it never ever felt drying in, you know, all the times that I used it. So those were the pros on it. Now let's go ahead and do the cons, which are the very limited color selection, that it does oxidize, that it's very luminous, which for me, it accentuates my texture, and of course the short wear time. So a very, very mixed bag, but there is something that I love about this. I think it's probably best for dry skin people who like a very natural makeup look and aren't terribly concerned about super long wear time. And I like it that you can just add more to touch it up later, and it looks great. I always like to show you my holy grail foundation, which is the Chanel Perfection Lumiere Velvet. This is the one that I use and swear by, and you know, it's way, way more expensive than this, but I think that these two, when this is first applied, it gives very much the look of this one. So that's, I think, what I like about it, is that it's not a dupe for this because it's way more luminous, but it gives a very similar look where it doesn't look like makeup on the skin. It never settles in pores. It never settles in wrinkles. So from that standpoint, it is kind of like this one. So that's it for the Foundation Friday for today, everybody. I hope you found the video helpful and informative. As always, I appreciate your time, and thank you so much for watching. But have a great weekend, and I will see you in the next video. So take care, everybody. Bye-bye.